Good afternoon to you all. I hope that you're feeling blessed and highly favored on today. Getting right into things. This will be a review of Van Lathan versus Emmanuel Acho. Now, if you aren't too familiar, because the clip is relatively long, and so I'm gonna try to skip through it a little bit and kind of get to the main parts. But I will be reviewing everything, and if you aren't too familiar, I'm gonna try to go ahead and preface it now, give a lot of my thoughts, initial thoughts up front. And so, then we'll kind of double back to it as we go through the clip itself. But just initially looking at it, there's been pushback on both ends. A lot of people feel like Emmanuel Ancho is, he's soft serve. He's Uncle Tom. He's watered down, a lot of things to appease white folks. And then you have people who are criticizing Van Lathan for coming to him so aggressively without any type of constructive dialogue. Just a lot of complaining and almost literally verbal bashing and chastisement. But my one of my biggest takeaways after kind of reviewing the whole thing, to me, Van Lathan really kind of was hating on Jonathan Acho. If you're not familiar, or Emmanuel Acho, pardon me, Emmanuel Acho, man, he having some success right now. He got Oprah behind him. He got his own show on called uh what's called Talk. Got my girl Joy Taylor on there too. Her fine ass. But so he got her on there. Um this young lady, you can tell that she started off she was doing the show with him. It's called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. I think she might have done had a little thing for Acho how she talking, you know what I mean? But to me, he is one of the more successful brothers that you'll see out there. He's got several books that have done very very well, um, and he got Oprah back behind him that he's cool with, man. So he done did his thing for a young black man. I'm proud of Emmanuel Acho. Um, Marcellus Wiley has kind of came out and said he was a little bit of a snake, you know what I mean? This, that, and the third, that, he kind of conspired with the white folks behind his back a little bit, this, that, and the third. But I think he's probably a victim of being a bit ambitious. I think his well being comes before loyalty or being real. That's just the type of brother that he strikes me as. And, I ain't mad at him for that. I ran across a lot of ambitious young men, but he definitely has the talent, to say the least, and how he articulates himself and how he presents himself and his understanding of things, which we'll get into more. But going back to Van Lathan, I feel like this is a brother that comes from his claim to fame is through TMZ. So he was the token black dude on TMZ, and so he understands structure. He understands the workings of white America because he's had some success in that realm to the point where he's kind of doing this. He's able to fly and do his own thing as of right now, but comparing the two, his success is nowhere close. Independent success has been nowhere close to Emmanuel Acho's. And so that is the first kind of thing to where I kind of smelled hate. And as we go into this clip, you'll see initially like he kind of came in ready to fire him up. Like he wasn't looking to have no type of constructive conversation, anything at all. He wasn't trying to build with the brother, trying to get a better understanding. He just came in ready to lambast him, and really kind of show his bravado and show that he's more black than Emmanuel Ancho. Like he already had this kind of set up, to really kind of go in. And to me, it just kind of struck me as he was trying to impress not only Black America, but this young woman that was here on the show. And so, and in doing so, he got emotional and he tried to double back on it and say, "Man, I just get passionate about black folks being killed, this, that, and the third, and it keeps on happening. And the last thing they need is a pillow." A few things before I get into this clip, and I'm saying all this so I can kind of let it run. But you're going to see a lot of what I'm saying. For one, you're going to see the hate. Secondly, this brother, he knows better than this, is what I'm saying. And when you look at the doors that Emmanuel Acho has gotten into, a lot of the points that Emmanuel is saying is very much true. There's various ways to fight. We can always look at the dynamics of a Martin Luther King and a Malcolm X. I think it was a time. It was very much safe to say that white folks would much rather sit down with a Martin Luther King as opposed to a Malcolm X because you was going to receive some resentment. You got one black man running around calling y'all devils. You know what I mean? Until he was later indoctrinated, and once he went to Mecca and he came back and he saw other nationalities and other races actually serving the same God that he served, this was abolished. But until that point, he was just a fiery black man who was kind of angry at the white man, and basically placed all our problems on that of the white counterpart. And so when you look at this, Emmanuel Acho has the knowledge to understand it's no coincidence that he's made it to where he's made it to because the nature of the white man is very passive aggressive. He has no pride in battling with you physically or hitting with you one on one in a verbal assault or a verbal attack. He'll in fact let you have that. He doesn't care anything. He'll just let you have the little, make you feel like you're important, like you dominated him, and then he'll go behind the scenes and pull the plug on you. I'll go behind the scenes and snatch whatever little authority or power or little voice you had. He'll just go ahead and snatch that right from behind you, you know what I mean? And go ahead and show you how irrelevant that you really are. This is how the white man plays. Anytime you get to getting aggressive and emotional with a white person, the first thing they're gonna do is write you off as an angry black man. Sir, calm down. And they're gonna try to hit you with all 1-2. Very calm you down and then set you up for an okie doke. And so this is the nature of the beast that we're dealing with here. And so I feel like as years after dealing with white folks, Caucasian people, I believe Emmanuel Acho has mastered the art of this, of being politically correct as far as fighting the best way that he knows how, as to how he put it. And this brother Van Lathan, to me, you kind of a buster because you have knowledge of this, and I feel like you know exactly what Emmanuel Acho is doing. But you took this as a time to go ahead and try to big up your black card by going in on this young brother. And I know that you know better than this because why? You wouldn't have had success at TMZ for those 10 years that he talks about in here if you didn't have that same subservient spirit in you. Why is it that you will go on here and blast another black brother, call him all type of names, be cussing at him? No, sir. You need to. If he lucky I wasn't on this show, I would have commanded that same respect that you showed that white man for them 10 years where you got your ass up and was just going to work and not saying nothing. Things that you disagreed with, you tucking your tail and ducking your head down, this, that, and the third. What was all this militant stuff then? What was all this? Damn, we need to tell the white man about himself. We need to be criticizing them. They don't need no pillow. This, that, and the third. We don't need to be serving them nothing watered down. What was all this Malcolm X bullshit then when you was going to work for 10 years and doing your thing there? It wasn't seen. And so for you to come on this platform and act like you just been a revolutionary your whole damn life, man, that's a bunch of nonsense. And so I'm not even sure why people allowed him to run with this narrative like he's not in the same boat as Emmanuel Acho. He's just not doing it as well as Emmanuel. And so that's my biggest thing, man. I just wanted to kind of preface the whole clip with that because I didn't want to keep on starting and stopping it. But let's go ahead and get into it without further ado. Let's see what's happening.
What the stakes are. And it's moments like this that are good for me to remember. All right, higher learning family. We have a special guest in the building, best-selling author, host of Uncomfortable Conversations, The Black Man. Illogical is the book, and it is out on paperback when, Emmanuel?
It is out here shortly in about 2 weeks from today. So out at the end of January.
Out at the end of January, one of the co-hosts of Speak for Yourself on FS1.
Speak now, man. Things have changed.
Speak now. Oh, excuse me.
Now
Joy would be so mad.
Joy
would be so mad. Joy would be so mad.
It is not speak for yourself. Okay.
Speak. Emmanuel Acho joins us today on Higher Learning. Emmanuel, what's up, bro?
What's up, man? Ben, I ain't seen you in a hot minute.
Been a long time.
Rachel, I seen you, I don't know, maybe last week. But it's good to see my people, man.
Let me jump into this real quick. Before I even get to anything, Marcellus Wiley made some comments on his podcast about Rachel. You didn't see this? I just want to make sure. Marcellus Wiley made some comments on his podcast. I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond. He said that on his podcast, he talked about all the beefs that he had with his various co-hosts.
Starting off being messy. Already coming with the feminine energy, gossiping like a breezing.
Years, and you were in that list of people. He said that you were angling for your own show, and you did not tell him that you were angling for your own show. Basically, Sel said that you did him dirty. Your response, did you hear it?
Ooh,
did you
girl,
see
he
it?
said-
What did you think? Have you and him talk?
Did you hear what he said?
Of course I
He
saw
said you
it,
did him
bro. It's
dirty.
funny you said you want to give me an opportunity to respond. Man, you know it's 2023. If you want to respond, you got all the opportunities you need. It's funny. I mean, I don't know. Sel threw that into like a beef post, but that wasn't even beef. It was really just his interpretation of his exit. You know what I'm saying? Like it was his interpretation of his exit. Sel and I don't even have beef. I saw Sel maybe 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. What's interesting about people, and I think in all honesty, what I respect about Marcellus Wiley is he will shoot straight and he will say things that are offensive, but he won't ever be offended. And that's what I've just learned about him. And I respect about him is like he said that, and so many people hit me up. It's like, yo, you know, you snaked him out of a job, da 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 da. I was like, with all due respect, I showed up at 29 years old and had a marginal
Watch the
NFL
body
career.
language of
I don't have the power to snake somebody. I was 29 years old at the time. You know what I mean? So like, I don't have the power nor the ability
like he setting up for it
to do what was suggested. But no, honestly, I mean, I love what he's doing now, and Sel is one of the greatest co-hosts I've ever worked with. So respect to him.
Wait, so he didn't leave on his own?
It depends who you ask, right? I mean, I think he did leave on his own because he and then not. I hear positive feedback. I recall
Uncomfortable Conversations with Black Men. Okay. Your show, the show that kind of catapulted you to the next level. I've watched it. I gotta be real with you. Everyone that's listening to this, it's just reality. I've been very, very critical of different Emmanuel Acho situations over the years.
You have. You have.
For sure. And I went back to watch the show and try to research more and get a deeper understanding of what the aim of the show was before you came on the podcast. And I have to admit, like, I just cannot fuck with it in any way. It almost feels, bruh, like I watch it and the show angers me. Have you ever had anybody else that's had that reaction to it?
Of course. Of course. I mean, if you want to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to avoid criticism, I would have to live my life inside my house and keep my mouth shut. So no doubt about it, man. I've had that all the time. More often than not, I hear.
Hey, hello. Hey, Shawty showed up in a robe for that Emmanuel Acho. Hey, that's one of the first questions, bro. Damn, why you in a robe today? Hey, I feel like she done gave Emmanuel them cheeks before. You know what I mean? That's my take on it, though, man. You know what I'm saying? I had to stop and interject that. She look like, because, you know, I'm looking at this body language. She don't really say too much this whole interview. You know what I mean?
Feedback. I recall Akbar Abajabi is someone I greatly respect. I'm sure you all have crossed paths with him at some point in time. You know, like, hey, thank you for saying what I did not have the words to say. But truth be honest, truth be told, bro, like, the show wasn't for you. And I think I've had to realize, like, yo, the show wasn't for everybody. The show, you're educated, and you are more than educated on what it takes to be a black man, because you are, in fact, a black man. You have lived in America as a black man. You know exactly what that looks like, feels like, sounds like, particularly based on generations. Show wasn't for you. The show was for people who have no idea what it might be like to walk in a black man and or woman's shoes. Show wasn't for Rachel. Rachel's my dog. Rachel's my sis. I've known Rachel since I was in high school, truth be told, because I used to run track meets in my old high school. Show wasn't for her.
Look out.
And that's no slight. It's just to say that I created this show with the intention of enlightening people's eyes who had their eyes closed.
Rachel?
We talked about it on this podcast before, and I remember this was like, man, when we first started. And I remember I even told you, Emmanuel, I was like, listen, I said this black people don't get it.
Man,
They
she
don't
look like a
understand
fake
it
Tyra
necessarily.
Banks
It's not
to me,
necessarily
man.
for
She-
us.
she
And I
not
told
it.
you that we
Or
talked
that to
about
me.
that on this
I don't
very
know if she got a
podcast.
cold body or
From
what, but
what I have
I ain't
heard
feeling her like
when
that.
it comes to criticism about uncomfortable conversations is that black
But
people
you know what they say about
feel
women with
like
that
you
gap,
are
though.
too accommodating to white people in your conversation. How would you respond to that?
You catch more bees with honey than vinegar. That's how I would respond to that.
But
So-
is honey what is necessary? I think is the thing. Because in 2020, we were in a completely different mindset and we were outraged. And so I think the response was negative because from black people, because they didn't feel like you should be handling it with kid gloves or with honey. And it seemed more accommodating to them that you were giving them too much space rather than telling them certain
No,
things that we were going through.
I respect that. I think, like we all say, black people aren't a monolith. So you have my dog Toby and Wigwe, hip hop artist. That's my dog, Nigerian,
man.
and he gonna say a song, "Try Jesus, don't try me, cause I throw hands." He gonna say, "Arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor." He's gonna sing X, Y, and Z. You have Amanda Seals, and Amanda Seals she gonna come at you. Incredibly educated, she gonna come at you. You have Sean King. He's gonna say what he's gonna say. You got Ibram X. Kendi. He's gonna deliver the information incredibly didactically
All right, he's
broken
making some
down.
good points. So he's just
And,
basically saying
you have-
it's different strokes for different folks.
Rachel can attest to that. Rachel, I think y'all went.
I have to name it. You saying that you don't have any generational trauma in some way meaning, or that in some way meaning that your delivery method to white people is going to be either more effective or more sanitized is, to me, dangerous. And let me tell you why. Everybody that you just named and what you're talking about does what they do in different ways. I don't think that any of the things that they do are necessarily harmful. But what I could say is a black man, a prominent one, acting as an emotional butler for white people and serving them the most milquetoast, unspicy, unseasoned brand of racial discourse and accountability possible could definitely be harmful, because of what it does. I saw episodes where you were on there with Matthew McConaughey, and Matthew McConaughey out said, "When will Black Lives Matter end?" He goes, "Well, when is it going to be time for it to be over?" But that's an outrageous question to ask at the time that he's sitting down with you. And it's an outrageous question to posit when we're going to be able to say all lives matter after everyone just watched George Floyd get his head blown off. I watched you also sit down with the police.
Did you
In
say
the-
response?
In the conversation with the police that I watched you have, there was nothing tangible that addressed the systemic issues of policing that lead to unfair and deadly outcomes all over the country. It was about whether or not the police liked black people, whether or not they were nice to black people, and even, as I wrote it down, the police are human too. Emmanuel, who gives a fuck? Like, we're fighting for our lives. And to me, having a conversation like that at that particular time, it's not that it's a different method.
Notice the French that he's speaking. Negro, you is not fighting for your life. You down with the white man, boy. Stop perpetrating pump faking and all that, man. You know, you have a higher level of intelligence than that. Well, I would have been getting on your ass. Like, shout out to Emmanuel, because this is where I'm striving to get to. There's a lot of doors that you're not going to be able to get into being a black man who carries that that on his shoulders, that's easily triggered, that's ready to tell this white man about himself, that's ready to correct every wrong that you see verbally. You can't do it that way. And so this is what I'm striving to get to, because it's naturally in me to correct foolishness when I see it. I don't like no type of shenanigans. You know what I mean? But Emmanuel Acho has mastered that. And in order to have success with the predominant people who run this world, which just so happens to be white people, they have the ability to close and open a lot of doors for you. So it almost behooves you and serves you very well to be able to conduct yourself at a level to where you don't come across as threatening. And I think this is the biggest thing that Emmanuel is saying, and I got to applaud him for his ability to even conduct himself. He's still not blowing it. He's still aware of everything that's going on right now. And I'm sure it probably wanted to jump in him and probably get on Brad's ass too. Like, bro, you a hater. Like, shut your ass up. But he understands what's at stake. And he understands the brand that he is as Emmanuel Acho. Him himself is a brand. He's a business. And he never lost sight of this, despite them coming to him in what can be deemed as an unfair manner and almost like an ambush. Shouts out to Emmanuel Acho, conducting himself with a tremendous amount of class. Let's continue.
Everybody has a different method. Is that it's the wrong method, is that it gives cover for a lot of the issues that you're supposed to be discussing. Roger Goodell's on the show. I watched the whole interview with Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell is talking about Colin Kaepernick in the past tense. Colin Kaepernick right now is fighting to get back in the NFL. If the NFL cared about Colin Kaepernick or what was going on in his life, Roger Goodell could be an agent of change now. You get the opportunity to talk to him, and the fact that he's speaking.
Then you bringing up Colin Kaepernick. Well, I done did a whole message on Colin Kaepernick, man. Colin Kaepernick down there, a white man. And he has not been, everything that this brother is in support of, they not down with the black community. Black Lives Matter, one of the biggest scandalous organizations in history, one of the biggest capitalists off the black diaspora. Are you serious? Like, these people came in and just basically leached off of the culture, man, and got paid, got their pockets fat while people are still in the streets dying. You can't even give an account to what they did with this money, man. Just straight scandalous, swindlers, to say the least. She buying her baby daddy houses and cribs and stuff like this, man. They ain't giving nothing back to black people, man. All these white folks that's done funded this organization. Retarded. And then you speaking on Colin Kaepernick, who got rich off of this whole thing, and then once it was all said and done, say, oh, I think I'm ready to come back to the league now. After I done grew my hair out, after I done became a character with this long-ass European nose, you know what I mean, that I know I would never get bashed or abused or treated like a black man ever in my life. You know, I have privileges that a black man typically doesn't have. Yeah, I done already milked it. I done came out. I done put on the Black Panther clothes. I done been accepted and embraced as a national figure of change and hope, and now I want to go ahead and come back and be in the league after I done, shamed all y'all white folks, man, and I turned my back and spit in y'all face and kicked up all this dust and caused this big old ruckus. I'm ready to come back now. If this was a black man, he wouldn't even attempt no foolishness like that. Let's continue, man. Like, Van Lathan's telling on himself.
About a man like that in the past tense is just simply never broached. And when I'm watching it, I know that you have the best of intentions. You're a good guy. My question is, what the fuck is the point of all of this? Is it to make them feel better about all of these things that are going on? Like, for what? Like, why? Like, why are you talking to someone and there's zero call to action? It's just, now I'm going to go be a better person. It just don't work that way.
Is this rhetorical or is that actually a question to be answered?
You can answer however you feel the need to. What you said was everybody does it different way. What I said was the way that you do it to me is no way at all.
That's fair. I think that's subjective. It's subject to your interpretation. That's subject to your opinion,
Correct.
Which I respect. I will say this: anybody watching and listening, I encourage them to also go watch any episode that you referenced, because some things were out of context. I would also encourage anybody watching or listening to understand that Matthew McConaughey asking a question is not an indictment of my response, nor did you submit my response. I would dude, it was 2 and some change years ago, so I would have to go back and.
I can tell you what you said. Would you like me to tell you what you said?
If you have the direct quote written down, yes, but I wouldn't want you to paraphrase.
Okay. What you said was not right now. You said right now it has to be about Black Lives Matter.
All right. Well,
Okay.
then I would feel as though that answer would suffice to someone asking when will that end? Not right now, because right now it is about Black Lives Matter. As it pertains to the cops, well, I also think it would be a waste of our time for me to try to address every issue you or anyone had with every episode. I think at least it would be a waste of my time. I can't speak to your time. I honor your time. What I can say is this. Dude, it's subject to people's opinion, man. Like, if people wanted me to be harsher with Commissioner of the NFL, Roger Goodell, I get it, but I went in there with one specific question to be asked. What would it take for Colin Kaepernick to be back into the league? Everybody and their mama had been posting about it, tweeting about it, shade rooming about it, but at the end of the day, nobody sat down with the man. Like,
he wouldn't sit down with them, but he would sit down with you, which.
And why is that, brother? Why did he feel comfortable sitting down with Emmanuel Acho? Why was he able to open that door that no other black man was able to concerning this touchy situation? Why is that?
Your conversation even more important than that.
Absolutely right. And so when I sat down with him,
Roger Goodell is free to come on Higher Learning, and I have a litany of questions to ask him, but he's not going to talk to me.
He will not be coming on Higher Learning.
Well,
based on how you know,
I would ask you to ask yourself, why is that?
Because you don't threaten him. Because the reason why he'll talk to you is because he's going to come out on the other side of the conversation looking better. The reason why he wouldn't talk to me is because I'm going to come out on the other side of the conversation needing answers. Before we get to this, Brian Flores sued the NFL for discrimination.
Check him out. He knew he stepped in some muddy water.
Speak for yourself with Marcellus Wiley. You brought up the fact that Brian Flores didn't have any black. Wow. Finally, somebody calling out the woke media on Brian Flores.
All of the things that you said, you've quoted an episode from Matthew McConaughey from June 7th, 2020, from officers from November of 2020, a Brian Flores quote from an old show that I used to do without also supplying the listener and or viewer with all of the positive I've done about Brian Flores, that situation, Bruce Arians, that situation, Mike Tomlin, that situation, all of the positive I've done. So I just kind of feel like y'all hit me with the okie doke in regards.
What's the okie doke?
No, Emmanuel, let me say this. No, Emmanuel, let me say this, because I don't like being accused of, like bringing you on under any kind of false pretenses. You and Van have had outside conversations. You and I have had outside conversations. You know that things haven't always been, great when we're referencing things that you've said before. We've talked about things you've said multiple times when it comes to Sha'Carri, when it comes to Calvin Ridley. We've talked about that on this podcast.
Lamar Jackson.
And I don't want you to think that anybody's trying to trick you on this, but I think it's relevant to what this podcast is about. Our podcast, Higher Learning, is about Black culture and how certain things intersect with it. And you do things that are about Black culture. So I think it's fair to have a conversation, even if you and Van are on totally different sides of it. It's fair to bring that to this podcast because that's what we do. So it's not about not recognizing great things that you've done. It's about just having a conversation about certain things. So I don't want you to feel that way.
Which is what you guys have not been doing. And feel free to check out the entire podcast because they speak on, like they said, Sha'Carri Richardson, how he made a joke about her being high while running track. They just brought up a whole bunch of foolishness, man. They really tried to downplay a lot of the good that he has access to and that he's actually able to do, man. So again, I love how Emmanuel conducted himself.
Look, I am confident enough in who I am and what I've accomplished. I'm just kind of like, this isn't a conversation. This is Van chastising me and me responding to being chastised. I can take it. Now, with all honesty, I just got off a 2-hour show. So I'd rather not utilize my time doing this, but I can. Rachel, I love you, always will. I can, but I'm just like, I don't know. I want this to be productive. I'm looking for
how would it be productive? to you? Because what I think. So this is what I
He
think.
ain't like that.
I think,
he ain't
and
like that.
I'll do
Oh, you
this.
love Rachel, huh?
I'll apologize if you feel attacked.
No, bro. I don't need an apology. I truly
You
don't.
just
And I don't
threatened to
believe in
walk off.
apologies.
You just threatened to walk off the shit.
No, I literally,
just-
my publicist, whoa, pause. My publicist says, let me know if you want to rap. I said, no, leave me on.
Okay.
Last thing I
So
said. So I'm not going anywhere.
So this is the honest
Look at
feeling
man.
that I have. And I
Still
do
trying
the
to play him.
talks. I've talked with Jason Whitlock. I've had to talk to brothers in the Nation of Islam, had pro-gun guys. Like, this is kind of
Now he
what I do.
name
It's no
dropping
problem.
the same way that a white person would. What are you talking about? I've attended a black church before. I have 5 black friends. Boy, if you really valid, if you really solid like that, if you really officially beneficial to your people, boy, you don't got to do no name dropping. That don't validate you or further add accreditation to your character or what you about as far as furthering the black cause. Stop it.
Your brand of what it is that you do is harmful. And I would be lying if I did not say that. I think that it's harmful. I think sometimes that what I do is harmful. I have all kinds of ways that I am fraudulent, that
I am going to fight the way I know how. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't curse. I don't have an issue with people cursing. I just don't curse. So if people want me to like curse, I just don't. I use my words. I just like I don't have that natural predisposition of aggression. I have a natural predisposition of peace. So I am going to fight the way I know how. Now, for those that want to be more aggressive, by all means, I'm not going to knock it. I'm just fascinated by people who knock me because I'm like, bruh, you're fighting your fight the way you know how. I'm fighting my fight the way I know how. Now, why do I disagree that what I'm doing is harmful? Because I do not think, in my opinion, based upon my experience, and I believe that your experience is your expertise, I do not think that a white person is leaving a conversation with me more ignorant, more uneducated, or more in the dark than they were before. I don't think that in my experience, and I have a litany of emails to prove so. But at the end of the day, I understand that there are different approaches, and I respect other people's approach. I believe some approaches are harmful, but I respect everybody's approach.
What do you think? Which approach do you think is harmful? Curious.
I believe the approach that is excessively, emphasis in the operative word there being excessively, I believe the approach that is excessively aggressive is harmful. Reason being is, if you are trying to get someone to learn a message, whether it's educational, whether it's in sports, whether it's relational, whatever the case may be, and if you approach it with too much aggression, they'll never even be able to hear the message because of how the message is wrapped. So if the message is wrapped too aggressively, it won't even make it to the front door. And so while it's well intended, it just won't even make it to the front door. We talk about the conversation with Roger Goodell. I don't think I did any damage in that conversation. I couldn't get him to answer the question straight up, and I tried. Boy, did I try. I edited the episode so people don't see how many times I asked, but I couldn't get him to answer the question straight up. But I think that is more productive than hopping on Twitter and being like, Roger Goodell's the reason Colin Kaepernick's not in the National Football League. Because that's just not true. So yeah, man, I think that's what it is. I respect y'all's stance. I respect that everybody don't like me. And you know, the hard part, Van, is like I've had to come to terms with that. Especially people that don't even know me. When I first called you, I'm like, bro, I don't even know dude. And he come hit my neck. I'm like, I had to call Rachel to be like, hey, let me just call him because like I thought it was love, but I guess it's not.
It was. You said that we couldn't have Olympic athletes smoking marijuana because somebody was going to get high.
Yeah, this man bringing up some more shit
and stab somebody in the heart. My G.
That's hyperbole, bro.
What did you say? What did the tweet say? What did the tweet say, Emmanuel? Tell the
said
people what the tweet
It was-
said.
it was-
Emmanuel,
it was-
Emmanuel,
wait, not the
Emmanuel.
stab the
What
heart,
is the
but you-
tweet?
but-
What,
but it
like,
was the
what
javelin.
did the
They'll get
tweet?
high
Yo, hold
and
on for a
use the
second.
javelin
Hold
the
on for a
wrong
second. Hold on
way.
for a second. That's fucking hysterical. Like, I don't care, bro. That's
what
so
you said
fucking
was
funny.
hyperbole, though. What you just said was hyperbole.
What did you say? You said that the javelin was going to do what? What was the javelin going to do?
I said I projected the question of it's okay if somebody's running wall high in a straight line, but what happens if they're throwing the javelin? I never mentioned anything about stabbing somebody
Okay,
in the
fine.
heart.
Fine. That's
But
funny.
they'd be
Okay.
reckless with the javelin. Yes,
Okay,
he exaggerated at the end.
And you know what you know what you said to me when we were on the phone? You said that you've never smoked weed before.
Correct.
So you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so that to me, and so to me, I didn't come at you personally there. I just said, yo, this is really funny. Because only someone that had never smoked weed before would say something like that. And we talked about it when you got on the phone, we discussed it. All the emails that you've gotten and all the stuff that you've gotten and the way that we need them to happen. I don't want to. I'm really in no way trying to offend you.
Yeah,
No, you're not. I deal with this, but significantly worse, every day on social media. But one of the words you said there was unity. You said unity, and that stuck with me. But this is the most ununited conversation that I've had publicly with another Black person, because when you all drop this episode, nobody's going to leave this conversation thinking like, wow, that was phenomenal dialogue between those two brothers and that sister. No, they're going to leave thinking, man, this dude, Acho, whack as hell. I knew
No,
it.
they won't. There's gonna be mad people that are gonna be pissed off at me. What?
Yeah, they will be.
What?
Sorry,
What? They're gonna be mad people, dog.
It's gonna be both.
There's no like, this isn't like a united conversation.
Well, let me ask you this question. I want to ask you this question, and I was always going to ask you this question. And I'm not asking you this based on anything that you just said. I think that we can all both agree, Van and I, that you have good intentions in what you started. Obviously, I was there at the start with you. I was there at the start, so I know where your headspace was when you wanted
realize like, oh, there's really a problem here. I think they were just going
to transgress and to put the safety, the evolution, and the existence of Black people in danger. And that is what I'm asking white people for. I'm asking for them to keep their toes behind the line so that we can all get on together. You ain't gotta like me. And I don't need to understand you. I just need there to be rules. That's it. By the way, this was an uncomfortable conversation. Uncomfortable for me, comfortable for Rachel, uncomfortable for you. And it's not just uncomfortable conversations with Black men that white people have to have. Sometimes two Black men, or two Black men and a Black woman and two Black men, they also have to have uncomfortable conversations. As a matter of fact, I think sometimes that might be more important. That was Emmanuel Acho. This is Higher Learning. The book is Illogical. The show is Speak. Joy is going to be super, super pissed off at me. Emmanuel Acho on Twitter, everywhere, on Fox. Appreciate your time. That was Emmanuel Acho.
Well, that kind of wraps it up, man. You know, like I said, I think, you know, when you look at things through the eyes of this game, I could see hate from a mile away. You know, to me, it was clearly an ambush. Again, I'm very much in support of how Emmanuel Acho conducted himself. I think he's a credit to the race, you know, with his ability, because that takes strength to go ahead and conduct himself the way that he did. On the other hand, you know, this hater Van Lathan, I feel like even how he ended it, talking about sometimes you have to have the uncomfortable conversations. You know, oftentimes finessers, you know, they think they're intelligent by mixing in a little bit of truth with a little bit of irrelevant truth, or a little bit of truth with a lie. And in this particular case, while yes, it is true that you do have to have the uncomfortable conversations in order for progress to be made at times, in this particular case, this wasn't a productive conversation at all. This was just discord, which, you know, our people do very well. You know, if I had $1 for every Black person who has an unproductive conversation in a barbershop on the block every day, just talking about some old stupid shit that ain't got nothing to do with nothing, and no progress is ever made, you know, I would be a millionaire. And I think this is just another case of that. And it's disappointing because, man, Lathan, again, he definitely is good with his words, very eloquent in speech. He just got a bit emotional. I think some of that hate bubbled up out of him. Some of that hate that he had going towards Emmanuel Acho and trying to show off in front of this young black lady. You know what I mean? I think all that kind of culminated into what he, in my opinion, looked foolish. But, based on the comments that I've been seeing, they thought he kind of got on the Emmanuel Acho ass. You know what I mean? But y'all let me know, man. It's just my take on the whole situation. Definitely I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Definitely feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. You dig? And until next time, certainly be blessed.